So this is wormwood growing up here on the prairie. One of the key identifying features is it's very soft to the feel. It's almost velvety, but if you look on the backs of the leaves, you see how that kind of looks silvery. And then if you pluck it and smell it, it has a very unique, a very pungent smell. But the wormwood is being investigated in the treatment of COVID. It is very bitter, and anything bitter is going to increase bile flow and is therefore good for the liver. It's also very powerful to help fight parasites. They're actually experimenting with growing a species of wormwood in Kentucky commercially. So this is wormwood. Very anti-parasitic. Here we have some alfalfa. It's probably from crops that were sown in years past here on the prairie. We're in small town America, right smack in the middle of North Dakota here out on the prairie. And alfalfa is very good for any kind of kidney, urinary tract type stuff. It has been used for prostate. It's a diuretic. I believe it helps with arthritis. It's good for upset stomach. And of course, you know, you can take the alfalfa seeds and sprout them. They make very nutritious sprouts. So this is part of our prairie medicinals video. You can see that this particular flower is being visited right now. But this plant I did a little Facebook Live video on the other day. And I am actually in the process of making a cough syrup out of this. It's called Gumweed. And you can see that that's sticking to my thumb very well. The base of that flower there, this is in the aster family, has a very sticky resin. And I guess that's why they call it gumweed. It's a Grindelia, but I can't remember the actual species name. But this is very good for any respiratory issue. You can make a tincture, you can make a tea, you can turn it into a salve and use it for, like, if you have poison ivy, poison oak, that type of skin stuff. And the way that it works for the respiratory system is that it releases spasms in the lungs. So this is gumweed. Very good for the lungs. Very sticky. Okay, next in our prairie medicinals is American licorice. Now this one is definitely new to me. I didn't even know if this was really used medicinally, but it actually is. You can take the root of this and use it. The Indians used to use it to treat diarrhea and upset stomach. I would have to do some more research to understand if it actually has all of the benefits of the licorice that's typically sold commercially. That one comes from a larger, kind of a shrubby tree, I think. But I have actually pulled up some of the root. It's growing everywhere. I don't know if I can get it with this hand. Probably not. But it is the root that's used. I don't have good hand strength anymore, so it's pretty tenacious. But this is American licorice, and it is medicinal. You can make a tea out of it. I don't know about making tincture stuff like that. Probably you could. It's literally everywhere out here. I'm out on the prairie here in North Dakota. I don't know if you can see in the background there. It's just literally everywhere out here. So I am of the opinion that when things grow prolifically in an area, there's a reason for that. God intended for us to use it. Here is a white sweet clover. and it would have all of the edible and medicinal properties of like red clover. Maybe not exactly in the same strength. You can see the entire plant. There's white sweet clover, and then right down here, not too far away, is a yellow sweet clover. So you can see they look fairly similar. But I have eaten these tops like in salad and just kind of munched on them a little bit. They're actually kind of tasty, kind of grassy. Good for cleansing the blood. Very fitting to run across one of these here in North Dakota, because this is the remnants of the North Dakota state flower, which is the prairie rose. So this is the rose hip, and it has all of the medicinal benefits of other rose hips, including being high in vitamin C. You can take these and make a tea out of it. All right, in this area, there's something that is going to add a lot of pizzazz to your salad if you like things that are a little bit hot and peppery. There's a large one right there, and there's several small ones scattered here. Now, my husband and I were out here a few days ago, and we pulled one of these. Can anybody guess what this is? This is wild horseradish. Now, this is hot. If you don't like hot stuff, then you don't want to try this. But it's really good. You can use it for urinary tract infections. It's actually good for kidney stones, for edema. You can use it for cough, for joint pain, gout, stuff like that. And some people have used it as an anti-parasitic. So let me see. If I can, well, that one broke. Let me see what I can do with my right hand. I have a little more strength in my right hand. All right, there we go. I wish you could smell this. It smells so good, and it is so delicious in a salad. And it is so good for your stomach. It'll open your sinuses up. Okay, I'm not able to get really close to any of the leaves. They're a little bit high for short people, but this right here, I'm hoping this is showing up good because I can't see the viewfinder well, but this is Russian olive. Now, I have been familiar with this tree, but I was just looking up, some of the uses of it, and I am amazed at how beneficial the fruits and leaves are of this particular little tree. It's a smallish tree. It's astringent. Anything astringent is really good for wound care, and from what I understand, it's used for like any kind of GI problem, kidney problem, anything where there's mucous membranes that are injured or inflamed. So I'll back up. You can get a kind of an idea of what the tree. It's kind of scrubby looking. There's another one right next to it, but it's got the berries, the little olives on it now. I'm not sure where they are in ripeness. I can't reach them and I can't see them real well. But look this one up, the Russian olive. I am amazed. Like I said, I don't know a lot about it right now. I'm just kind of showing it to you and letting you know that it is very beneficial. So I found a small limb that had blown off in the wind, which can't imagine why we would have wind here in North Dakota. But anyway, you can kind of get a better idea. Of course, it's a little bit dried up, but anyway, you can see what it looks like a little bit better here, the Russian olive. Okay, this one is certainly not unique to North Dakota or to the prairies, but I just wanted to show you here. This is plantain, and it's quite tough. We're late in the season, and life is harsh out here on the prairie, so it's very tough. But you still could use of course, plantain is very mucilaginous. It's great for like the GI tract. You can smush it up and use it for bites and stings and wounds if you're out in the field. You can make poultices out of it. You can make a tea out of it. You can just crush this up and eat it in your salad. It's good for the stomach. But here's what I wanted to show you, and I showed this in a Facebook Live video. The stem coming up, the stalk here, is loaded with this fuzzy looking stuff. And what is that? Let me show you this. That is psyllium husk and psyllium seed. There's the seed. Here we have Canada thistle. Some people call this spreading or sprawling thistle. I really think that the color is beautiful. Not sure how well it's showing up on the camera, but this is part of the all things spiked. If you go watch that video, all things spiky are very protective to the body. This is the mechanism that the plant uses to protect itself, either a bitter flavor or spikes or whatever. And anything that has that kind of feature is really going to be protective to the body. This is the thistles are very nutritious, very high in good minerals. They have deep roots that they pull those minerals up from the soil. And they're also edible, but you have to be very careful for the spikes. You want to wear gloves when you harvest them and take these spikes off. You can make a juice out of it. The stems, you can clean these off and eat them. They're a little bit like celery. And so remember that the thistles are edible and they're very protective to the body. I might get sprayed, but the other day I found that there was a skunk living in one of these pipes. You can see where he's been going in and out right there. I don't dare. Okay, here is a pretty little plant that commands respect. This is called butter and eggs. I don't know what the real name is. I'd have to look that up. But the common name is butter and eggs. Now, it's diminutive. It's not real big, but it has a big punch. If you are constipated, you can make a tea out of this, and it is a strong laxative. It's also a diuretic, and some have used it to help treat jaundice. Some have used it for skin diseases. I guess you could make a wound wash out of it. Butter and eggs. I hope you're getting an idea of just how much medicine can be all around you if you learn how to identify it. Here's another one of those plants that everybody loves to hate. And it looks similar to the other thistle that we looked at. This is sow thistle. And sow thistle can be, all of the thistles, as I said, are edible. You can take off the leaves, use the stems, you can eat the leaves. It's good for the liver. It's good. Some people have used it. I guess you could make a tea out of it to use for like headaches and general pain, diarrhea, any kind of GI upset, infections. It's anti-inflammatory. I have heard some people use it for infections as well. And while I'm right here, right next to it, right there is another plant, but there's a bigger one right over here. So let's step over here, and I'm going to look at this one. Now this is one of my absolute favorite wild edibles. I actually call this lamb's quarters, and if this is growing in my garden as a weed, I protect it. I let it grow. I let it spread. These leaves are delicious. They're very good. I'm going to harvest some for our salad for lunch. They're very high in calcium, very medicinal. And the seeds, these are not quite ripe yet, but you can harvest the seeds as I think it's It may be called Kanawa, I'm not sure. But it can be used as a gluten-free grain. They're very, very tiny little seeds, but this plant is absolutely delicious. So if this comes up in your garden, this is a little bit different than the variety that I'm accustomed to down in Kentucky and Alabama. But lamb's quarters is what it is. Some people call it goosefoot. Again, I don't know the botanical name. I need to learn to use the botanical names. But at any rate, this stuff is so good for you. Lamb's quarters or goosefoot. Here is an interesting little plant. It's been smooshed in the road here. But this, some people call it silverweed. Most people know it as cinquefoil. This is kind of a tonic herb. You can make a tea out of it and use for somebody who has GI upset like diarrhea or whatever. You can make a tea out of it and use as a gargle for like loose teeth, any kind of gum disease or anything like that. You can also use it for thrush, which is yeast infection in the mouth. So this is cinquefoil or silverweed. Not the best specimen probably because, as I said, it's been smushed in the road, but that should let you know how tenacious, how much benefit, how protective this particular plant is. Okay, real briefly, I was about to wrap up the video and I walked past this tree and I couldn't pass it up. This is a white willow, and if you've ever heard of using white willow bark for pain, this is what you use, but it's the cambium layer, and I'm trying to get a sample of it, but I have to kind of keep breaking until, okay, here we go. If you see that, that's the outer bark, but just under this, just right here, there's a very thin layer called the cambium. You see that? That's the cambium, and that is what you use. It's kind of thin here on this little tiny branch, but let me just take it off. And you can see there? That's what you use. You can harvest that and dry it and use that for pain. White willow. To help with my headache.